We'll come out of recess.
County crews plowing snow, and paved roads as needed, plowing snow and gravel, pushing snow back at many locations around the county, servicing equipment as time allows. The wind yesterday didn't do us any good rolling things back shut, but
Before it slips my mind, Ron, I was visiting with one of the mail carriers from the Early area, and he raised some concern about south and west of Early a little bit. There are multiple level B roads over there,
okay.
and he as a carrier is not to travel any level Bs, and they're actually clearing some level Bs before they do the As for some reason. And he wanted me to ask why we're doing that. And I told him I think there's a route, but as a carrier, their rules are that they're to stay off those, and I'm sure that is because of in other areas their Bs are probably pretty poor roads, and quite often ours are like A's, but their written rule is that they're not to be on Bs, and so he was having some trouble getting where he needed to be on deliveries to stay on A's. So I said I would bring that to your attention.
I'll check with Mike on that.
Okay. And it was south and west of Early.
Well, the weekends are falling nice for us this year.
But sometimes, I think typically they can go through them faster than they go around them. You know, go from one end to the other, then they go through them rather than go around. But
and that's
it all late, you know.
I said I'm sure there's a reason.
Yeah.
But I would ask.
But I'll make a point to talk to Mike about it too.
Talking about snow removal, I had a couple people call me, you know, the first pass they made with motor graders, they left a lot of snow on the road, and some roads are worse, at least in my part of the county, some roads were worse than others that way, and I know that the gravel, you know, was so loose that I think they were trying to get away from throwing it all in the ditch.
And that varies with operators. Some operators will run it pretty close and throw it over gravel in the ditch. Some of them are trying to keep it up higher. But, and on that first pass, of course, they're trying to get as many miles covered as they can. And I know there's some areas, even in Calhoun, that I saw on my road that he didn't get to even part of it pushed back barely one lane width the first time through. But it was that way for a couple of days before he got back. But I mean, I guess we try to make sure everybody's got a route and got out one way. It's what they're supposed to do.
And it's tough. There's been a lot of loose gravel on the roads. We lost a lot of gravel.
Same with the if you're first and you continue to have some drifting, sometimes that one lane closes, you know, before they get back.
Yeah. And I think that one day they kept them off and, you know, kept them off the gravel so it was blowing so bad. It was drifting about as fast as we were plowing them out. So,
Yeah, the first day.
and I assume they sort of picked up where they left off the day before, so.
I don't know, it's you know, this person's his wife got stuck, and they kind of they left about, you know, it was hard to get through. I drove through it with a pickup, and the next day they put it right down the road and blew it in the ditch anyways. So, you know, he and his wife were going, you know, they might as well just done it right away, or at least lowered it closer, because, you know, snow removal, so that's one thing that talking about level Bs, I've seen my maintainer operators spend a ton of time winging stuff back on a level B. Yeah. You know, because the guy that lives on that can go out to the west, and get on M50 real quick. But I've seen the operators spend a couple hours with him just playing around, pushing snow on top of it. Which I don't know. I know, like you said, sometimes they do Bs, instead of turning around and going around a B, they go through it. I'm fine with that, but on that same B, when they come back, rather than hang, you know, like a day like today, they're out kind of redoing and we're keeping busy. I don't know, I just...
One of the other considerations is that quite often the animal confinements are on bees because, and they have to get to those, but these didn't have them, and that varies all over the county, I know. So some of them have them and some of them don't.
Well, as long as they can get in the confinement unit from one way. You know, he doesn't have to spend half a day winging the other 3/4 of a mile, I don't think.
I agree.
I mean, as we get into tougher budgets and shrinking road use tax dollars or status.
And we might have to take a look at putting some additional signing on some of those Class Bs that say no snow removal, and just quit trying to open them up.
Well, I just think, you know, maybe, you know, Mike has a lot of miles, but maybe some of the operators have more common sense and can weigh those things. They'd probably rather go out and push snow a day like today than hang around the shop or something for them to do. It puts hours on the graders, and you wing that thing back on the level B, and the next time it blows, it's going to blow in deeper than ever, which is something you got to live with on an A, but do you see much of that?
I just when I think about that, like I had said, quite often because there are no residences on the B, that's where you'll see some of the animal confinements. But some of them don't have them at all. I mean, and you know, I guess I agree. Putting hours and fuel on Bs, if there's probably shouldn't be doing that.
And that's some of them that maybe we need to look at doing more snow removal on, you know, or at least make sure they're not working on them until everything else is cleared, and if there is a reason to open them or not. I mean, some of those bees, even after you open them, don't get a whole lot of traffic, but some bees
Are used a lot.
Yeah,
I know.
You gotta.
But at the same time, though, if they're identified as bees, I mean, you don't have to spend a lot of time on those unless there's a really good reason. That's why they're identified as bees, right?
Right.